Disclaimer, some of these stories are not exactly family friendly, especially not very child friendly. Some of them do use some strong language. Some of them do talk about some rather vile things sometimes. Others is just not exactly something some people might want their children or anyone else around them to hear. Not exactly public friendly. If you have a job in general, you know what I'm talking about. Some things that happen in life are just not public, perfect conversation. So, with that in mind, please keep in mind where you are listening to this, who you're listening to it around, and how you're going to listen to it. Also, if you have any stories that you would like to share with me, please send them my way. I am always up for more stories. I only have so much as my own. So, if you have anything you want to share with me, please feel free to share them with me in my email account. Send them to workwithalphag@gmail.com. That is workwithalphag@gmail.com. One last thing I wanted to remind you all about is please make sure you're following me. I am not just on one platform. I am on Spotify, Patreon, Castbox, Podbean, and Buzzsprout. So please, if you have any of those, Patreon is probably going to help me out the best. And hopefully later on, it'll be able to help you guys out as well. For $1 a month, you'll be getting ad-free episodes, as well as later on, I'm hoping to be able to do Q&As, just be able to talk with you guys, one-on-one conversations, group chats, whatever. So please, make sure you're checking it all out. Let's get into the episode. Hey guys, welcome back. This is episode 2 of Stories from Behind the Counter. I am your host, Alpha. This is the podcast where we talk about stories that pretty much no one would believe unless you've worked our line of work. This is stories from retail, fast food, EMTs, cops, gas station clerks, whatever. If you've dealt with the public, pretty much, you've got a story for us. This first story we're getting into is one of those stories where we're not sure if you want children around. This is the story about the drunk guy that peed on some cops and some management of mine. I was a stalker in the garden department at a specific store, and I was tasked with cleaning up the inside aisles of the garden and inside where the health and beauty, the cosmetics, and all that stuff kind of meet up. It's all very small departments, so they just figured one guy can handle it, no big deal. I finished up with the garden in the HBA aisles. I decided to hit my 15-minute break, so I grabbed some food, got my cigarettes, went outside what we call the smoker shack, and by the time I got back in, I was coming in through the garden area and walked to the inside of the store. I was heading back toward my locker so I could put my stuff away. I got to the point where all 3 of those departments met, and there's 3 members of management surrounding an elderly gentleman in one of those electric scooters that most stores have for the handicapped customers. Apparently, the customer in the scooter was very intoxicated, and he was running into all of the displays in the middle of the aisles. He was smashing the cart into the shelves down a few of the aisles. He was knocking things down. So obviously, management had to try and take care of the issue. Well, they went up and they were talking to him, telling him he needed to leave before they called the cops. Mind you, before I go too much further, 2 of the management were males. One of them was a female. Well, as they were telling him that he needed to leave, he decided he was not going to leave. He looked at them, yelled at all 3 of them, telling them they were all a bunch of crack whores. They all just wanted his dick. They needed to leave him alone. Amongst other things, the management team was pretty much called everything but human beings by this gentleman. Obviously, management called the cops. The cops were there within about 5 minutes while the management team tried to contain this customer where he was so he didn't hurt himself or anyone else, for that matter, or our displays. Once the cops had gotten there on scene, they just kind of flatly told the guy, "Hey, buddy, you gotta go. Don't make this hard on yourself. Please just come quietly. We'll walk you out. We'll get you on your way. Well, the customer pretty much had the same reply. He told the cops they were all crack whores. They just wanted his dick. And yeah, after two or three times of trying to be patient and nice to the guy, he just kept being belligerent, getting more boisterous. So the cops were like, all right, we're done with you. Each one went up, tried to grab him by his arm and lift him up out of the electric cart, to which the customer proceeded to, in one fell swoop, throw them off of him, unzip his pants, and just start peeing all over the place. He tried to get it on the management team. He tried to get it on the cops. He sprayed so much of the cosmetic section. And all I could think of was, I'm not dealing with that. Now, that being said, when I tell you I've been in martial arts for about 15 years, I've met a lot of people and I've seen some crazy techniques and I've seen some swift, smooth movements. This was like a movie. I couldn't believe how quickly he just tossed two cops off of him, unzipped, whipped it out, and just started pissing. Um, as disgusting as it is, I gotta admit, it's slightly impressive. Just saying. Because it was all within like a blink of an eye. He threw them off. Zips! Luckily enough, I was just rubbernecking. Like I said, I was just kind of watching everything, thinking to myself, I am not dealing with this. But I also was not close enough to be at risk of splatter damage, shall we say. Once the customer was out of ammo, they just kind of tackled him to the ground. They cuffed him up. They zipped him up, drug his drunk ass out to their car. As bad as all that is, I gotta tell you, the worst part, in my personal opinion, this poor guy, one of the members of management that was dealing with this drunk, had just transferred in, just got promoted to assistant manager. He came from a couple of towns away, and the other two members of management told him, welcome to management. Our maintenance team called out, and only salaried members of management and maintenance can deal with the bodily fluids. Welcome to our store, buddy. And they walked off. They made him clean everything up all on his own. He had to clean the electric cart. He had to mop the floor. He had to go through all of the makeup that had been peed on and had to deal with it all alone within his first week or so of being there. He didn't last long. He transferred out, I want to say, within a month. I'm pretty sure he just said, screw this, I'm going back home. I really can't blame him, can you? This next one is a very interesting story from an ex of mine who worked as a front end manager at one of everybody's favorite stores that we all like to shop at. This person was working the front end, making sure all the cashiers went to the breaks, their lunches, taking care of any issues at the service desk. You know, usual day at work, especially in retail. Well, one guy comes up to the service desk and he's wanting to make a return and he wants to get his money back. He has no receipt for any of his items. I can't remember exactly what he had, but it's not unheard of that people come in trying to return a handful of stuff and never have their receipt. Well, due to this, a lot of companies are requiring us to get the person's ID for a no receipt refund. That way we could track how many times you're just coming in without receipts, and it kind of helps keep down possible scam. A lot of people don't like it, but hey, it is what it is. We're just trying to do our jobs. Leave us alone. Anyway, so we asked for this guy's ID. He says he doesn't have it. He must have left it at home. He has to come back. No big deal. Again, this happens quite often, probably a lot more often than you'd think. Personally, it amazes me how many people can claim to be walking around, or especially the people who claim to be driving around, without their IDs or their licenses, but that's neither here nor there. The gentleman leaves in such a rush, he apparently leaves his bag of personal stuff there. Now, this isn't just a regular, like, merce, the man purse, or a satchel bag, or anything that anyone would really carry. This is a full-on, I'm going on vacation luggage bag. Like, the big one. So, whatever. He says he's going to be back. We set it to the side. We continue busting out the line. After about an hour or two, we eventually conclude that the guy's not coming back, all right? Obviously, we don't want this guy's stuff, so we do open it up looking for any kind of, at least like maybe he left a bank card or something else that's got his name on it, so we could try and look him up, maybe on Facebook or something. Try to reach out, be like, hey, dude, you still have your bag here? Go ahead and come and get it. Well, this is where the story goes from normal to, well, I've never personally had this happen to me before, and neither had my ex. So this was new for pretty much everyone at our store. They opened up the bag the gentleman had left behind, and inside was a mass amount of drugs, like cocaine, heroin, lots of hard, crazy stuff. Obviously, we can't do anything more at this point without the police being involved. So we call the cops get there, they continue going through the guy's bag. Lo and behold, guess what they find in the bag? On top of all the drugs that are in there, they find the guy's driver's license in the bag. You know, the one he said he left at home. So the cops zipped up the bag. They tagged it as evidence or whatever they had to do and said, don't worry, we'll take you from here. And they left. We never heard anything happen, but I'm sure with his ID, if it was up to date, that guy's probably still in jail. And this was a good few years ago. All right, so this next story, I just got hired on at a wonderful retail place for everyone's favorite event, Black Friday sale. I got hired probably about the beginning of November. This was about the time that they were doing it on Thanksgiving night. So, Thanksgiving, 6 p.m., doors would open, people would come in, whatever. We'd have to guard all the pallets with all the plastic wrap and everything. My personal station, I was guarding the line leading into the area where we were selling the movies and the games, stuff like that. My job was to make sure that we don't have more than 5 people go into a shopping area at once. You know, that way it can alleviate any possible fights, any overcrowding, basic keep everyone calm type stuff. I'm doing my job. I'm sitting there, I'm counting people in. 1, 2, 3, go ahead. Okay, 2 left. 1, 2, go ahead. When this guy comes up who could fill a double door, y'all, I'm surprised he was able to get up and walk on his own feet, to be honest. But he looked like he was about 6'5", 300 to 400 pounds, maybe a little more, standing there wheezing while he's standing in line. I'm not sure what was going through his head. Maybe he needed to hurry to get to a scooter somewhere else, or maybe he just thought, me big man, you little guy, I want through. But he tried to push through me so he could get to where he wanted to without waiting. Now, something to know about me, in comparison, I'm a very little guy. I'm about 5'10", 5'11", or so. Heaviest I've ever been in my life is like 165 pounds. At this point, I think I was lucky to have been about 130 to 140, somewhere around there. What most people don't realize is I've also been in martial arts. I brought this up in a couple of past stories. I've been in martial arts since high school. I'm not as easy to move as some people think. So even though I'm a little guy, especially compared to the average person in America, mind you, at this point, the Black Friday events are already known to be kind of vicious. And crowds, people get hurt, people steal, people just get angry, and stuff happens. At this particular store, we usually end up having the local police department and the local sheriff's offices to help control the event, hopefully keep the trouble down to a minimum. So this guy tries to push past me. He's putting his hands on my chest, hoping to shove me to the side or, get me out of the way. Sadly for him, as a little guy, this is something that I'm actually quite used to, and I've been trained to defend myself against it. So I felt his hands on my chest. I smacked his hands away. I used both my hands to shove the man back, kind of just put my hands by his chest a little bit above his solar plex and just pushed him back, took him by surprise. He was very surprised, actually. I looked at the man in the eye and said with a dead serious face, if you touch me one more time, sir, you will wish that those lovely people with the shiny bracelets that connect come get you before I'm finished with you. The man kind of looked at me blankly, and I guess maybe he was shocked, But I continued telling him, one more time, I'm personally going to drag you out of this store with my bare hands. I may look small, but I'll drag you by your nostrils out of this building if you try to do anything like that in front of me again. After a minute or two, a couple people left. I let him in, said, "You have a good night, sir." He walked past me without saying anything. My coworker came up to me, and he was dying of laughter. He said he wished he could have seen me drag that man out by his nostrils. But this is the kind of thing we deal with regularly, not only in public facing jobs, but especially for the wonderful Black Friday events. So, on that note, carrying with the theme, we're going to go into another Black Friday story. This was the same night I was dealing with this big old guy over by the movies. This is from the perspective of a former coworker of mine that was there that night. As we all know, Black Friday, this is the time for everyone to get all their Christmas shopping done, use this time to spoil themselves before the holidays, whatever. That is not an issue in itself. It's the fact that people feel that they need these minor things so bad in their lives that they're willing to push smaller people, get into a fist fight, trample each other, literally just to get the best deal. Well, while I was dealing with the big guy in the games and the movies, a coworker of mine was watching the area where they had like the sewing machines and the laminators and some of the other crafty things. Everyone was waiting pretty patiently at first for them to make the call to rip open the plastic on the pallets for the products so everyone can grab whatever they want. Well, as soon as that call is made, my coworker didn't even get the chance to rip the plastic. She didn't even get the chance to touch it, really, before this entire crowd just comes and attacks, pretty much. Luckily enough, there was another manager there. That manager was able to pull my coworker out of the group without any harm, and they got them to a safe place. They just kind of watched, trying to avoid getting hurt, trying to keep everyone calm, trying to get them to act like adults. Well, as they're trying to get everybody to stay calm and wait their turn, do whatever, they hear a 30-year-old man start yelling at this elderly lady over a sewing machine. The lady, being essentially accosted by this complete and utter asshole, is, of course, standing her ground and, shall we say, using some adult language while talking to this guy. The next thing anyone knew, the 30-year-old man, out of nowhere, just throws a straight punch to the woman and knocks her to the ground. Straight punching her in the face. She's out cold, laying on the ground. Everything just stopped. Like, the noise in that particular area just completely ceased. Everyone saw the lady on the ground. They just froze. Just so happened that, as I mentioned in the previous story, there was a lot of cops in that store. A couple of them happened to be standing there and watched it. So since they saw everything, they literally flew onto this man. They cuffed him and they start dragging him outside immediately. And this man had the audacity to holler out, "Wait, can't I buy my sewing machine first?" The cop looks him straight in the eye and says, "No, you're not getting shit except a jail sentence, buddy. You just knocked out an elderly woman over a $20 sewing machine. You're not getting shit." This is the kind of crazy stuff we deal with on a regular basis over stupid stuff, but it seems like on Black Friday events, those tend to be the worst. It really just brings out the worst in people. Everybody gives into their animalistic instincts, in my opinion. I hate it. I cannot stand Black Fridays. I refuse to shop at them. At this point in my life, if at all possible, I try to avoid even working a Black Friday sale unless it's at a smaller store now. Or hopefully the management team knows how to keep things calm. Well, anyway, rolling with the craziness, we're actually going to get away from the Black Friday events for right now. This is another one that can probably match the energy of a Black Friday event. And I still, to this day, cannot believe I went through not just one, but two of these. But I'm going to tell you about the first time I had to deal with a bomb threat at work. So I'm a closing associate in the garden center at the time. My job was to fix up the department at night when I was done helping In my own department, I would help out with the pets, the health and beauty, the cosmetics area, whatever needed help still while I had time. Well, I finished with the garden, I did the pets and the health and beauty area. I went for a smoke break, came back in, finished the cosmetic area. One of the assistant managers of the store was over there already, so I decided to hop in. I was chit chatting with her while we were fixing up the area when all of a sudden her hand just kind of flew up. One hand covered her ear where her radio earpiece was, one hand was kind of giving me that, shh, hold on a second. So I was like, okay. I turned around, picked up a couple things off the ground. I turned back. The assistant manager was gone. I didn't hear any keys. I didn't hear any footsteps, nothing. I turned, grabbed something, turned back. Poof. Harry Pottered out of there. It was kind of insane. I was like, okay, must have been something kind of serious. Sadly, in retail, we do see an awful lot of heart attacks. People slip and fall, hurt themselves. People have seizures. So it's not uncommon for assistants or co-managers or even department managers sometimes to hear something over the radio and just, boop, I'm gone. Anyway, I'm not really thinking much of it. I've got like 15 minutes left of my shift, so I start heading to the back. My other half and I at the time were both working at the same store. She had been off for about an hour or so, maybe 2 hours before me, but we lived so far away, it wasn't worth going home, coming back to pick me up, go back home. We only had the one car, so they just stayed there and waited for me. I started gathering up my stuff. I locked up my locker, clocked out, and then all of a sudden, one of the support managers came rushing into the break room where we were, and he said, I need everybody out front at the evacuation point now. Of course, my other half and I looked at each other. We were like, we both just clocked out. We're leaving. Don't worry about us. He cut me off and was like, no, everyone needs to get to the evacuation site now. Whether you're on the clock or not, I've seen you. I need an official head count. You need to get to the evacuation area now. So he bolted off. He's trying to help get the rest of the store evacuated. Obviously, we didn't have much choice. So we grabbed our stuff. We made our way to the evacuation site where all the other associates were supposed to meet. And everyone, of course, is sitting out there talking amongst each other, trying to figure out what happened. When this elderly lady had barely been with the company for a week, started laughing. She literally just looked at all of us, took a small drag off her cigarette, and went, I can tell you what happened. So I looked at her with her little smirk on her face, and I said, okay, well, tell us what happened, ma'am. So she goes into the story of how apparently one of our associates had upset the member of the Vagos Motorcycle Club so bad that he had left and later called in a bomb threat. So this poor thing had barely been put out onto the sales floor. It's getting pretty late at night. Phone rings. She answers it. She does her usual spiel that every company has people trained to say. And he goes, yes, is this insert company name here? And she says, well, yes, sir, it is. How may I direct your call? And the voice said, you have 5 minutes. Boom. And then the gentleman hung up. The poor thing that took the call was so stunned, she said she sat there for a second trying to replay the call in her head. And once it clicked what he said, that's when she called for management. And that's when the ASM I was talking to bolted off to take care of that situation. Of course, bomb squad was called, local police, fire department, EMTs on standby just to be safe, all that good fun stuff. After about an outside in the cold, not being able to leave, not being able to do anything but sit, wait. If we smoked cigarettes, we could smoke a cigarette. That's about all. If we forgot our jacket inside, sucks to be us. Sadly, whoever made the phone call had called from a restricted number, so we couldn't even give the cops a phone number from the caller ID, no name, or anything. So no one was ever caught for this. But, luckily enough, there was no bomb in the building. Alright, one last one before we head out for the day here, guys. This one was very interesting. So, I'm the service desk lead at this retail hardware place. I'm trying to deal with delivery issues. while all the other associates are dealing with the returns like usual. My department manager for the desk is gone for the day. I was tied up, and there was a customer being slightly problematic. So they called up the department manager over the front end, all the regular cashiers. They come up, try to see what they can help with. The department manager comes over, tries to help out with this return, see what's going on, see if she can help at all. And apparently, the customer had a handful of items that were, in our opinion, looked rather old. But she just had a whole bunch of this trashy looking stuff in her basket and was demanding a return. Obviously, she didn't have a receipt for it. So we tried to see what we could do for her. We tried to see if she maybe had her phone number connected to our loyalty program, or maybe she had the credit card through our company, as those sometimes will help us find receipts if it's been within a certain amount of time. She didn't have any of those. I finally get done with the issue I'm dealing with. I come over and I try to help out however I can. But things were not going the way the customer wanted. Since she didn't have any way we could find her receipts, she didn't have the paper one, all we can do is what is called the no receipt return. Pretty self-explanatory. You don't have a receipt, we need something to track this kind of stuff. We usually end up requiring an ID. This is a type of thing that a lot of companies are moving towards. Standpoint of if the register declines the transaction, not even the CEO can override it or anything of the sort, especially when it comes to a no receipt return. Well, obviously, once the register declined her return, the customer got very upset. So we ended up having to call an assistant manager over to try and defuse the situation, explain the company's policies, and see if that might help calm her down, or at least just get rid of her. That did not go very well either. The customer starts making a grand show of herself at this point. She's yelling at the ASM, she's yelling at me, she's yelling at the department manager that was helping us, saying that we're all just trying to steal from her and we just need to give her her money that we owe her, and just making quite the scene. We continue to try and get her to calm down, but the customer is just getting more and more angry. She starts slamming her cart up and down, literally picking up a full-size metal basket with both hands, picking it up and slamming all four wheels on the ground, cussing at everybody that's even wearing a company uniform. Needless to say, this attracts a lot of attention. So at this point, we've got almost every associate in the company, or at least at the store, up front, watching, trying to see what's going on. A few people start recording the incident, which just inflames the customer's rage even more. The customer starts yelling at one of the employees that's right behind me who's recording, and starts yelling, blah, 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 with your stupid camera. I haven't even hit anyone. My assistant manager tries to get her attention again, and the customer doesn't even let her speak. She starts yelling at my assistant manager again. It's you who's stealing from me, you fucking bitch. Give me my money. And then turns back to the person recording, yelling, get that stupid phone off my face. And then she actually tried to reach for the associate's phone. Luckily enough, the ASM, me, and a display were kind of in the middle of things. She couldn't get to the associate. I tried to make sure I created more of a barrier after that, obviously. The assistant manager captured the customer's attention again and says, ma'am, you need to quit yelling at my associates. I need you to step outside. By the way, at this point, the customer is actually on the phone with our local police department trying to report us for stealing from her because we refused her refund. So at this point, she's not only being recorded by people in the store, but by the police dispatch now also. You know, they're always on a recorded line. She's trying to talk to them, telling them that we're stealing from them. They're hearing all of this drama. The department manager that was up there with us trying to control everything was also trying to tell her she was no longer going to get any help. You know, she's not welcome in here. We're all trying to coax her to go outside and stop some of the onlookers, hopefully alleviate some of the drama that's going on. And the customer looks right at my assistant manager and says, you stupid fucking bitch, I hope you die tonight. And she starts storming off toward the doors. At this point, I know I was kind of thinking, oh, thank God, finally it's over, it looks like. I'm sure we were all thinking it, but of course not. The department manager, the assistant manager, and myself all start following her outside in that order. As the customer started me off, I think she maybe realized we were following her, so she stopped and tried to turn on a dime and attempt to hit my assistant manager with the cart. Luckily enough, the department manager that was with us had some pretty quick reaction time, grabbed the basket before it could hit anyone. The customer started yelling at everyone around watching, yelling, "Oh, look at you! Take pictures! Oh, yeah!" As she was distracted, yelling at everyone, the three of us just kind of grabbed the basket and we tried to get it outside, get her outside, and finally end this. Obviously, this grabbed her attention again. Immediately, she started running up, yelling at us, "They're stealing my stuff! They're stealing my stuff!" Mind you, again, she is still on the phone with our local police department during all of this. She finally grabs the cart. She starts storming outside again. We start following her again. This time, the assistant manager's in front, the department manager, and then me. As we're following her, she gets outside the doors of the store and just turns around, spits right in my assistant manager's face. The assistant manager just turned to me and the department manager and calmly said, "You can call PD now." And she just wiped the spit off of her face and walked calmly to the restroom to try and clean herself up after that. I still don't know how she stayed so calm after that. Customers spit on my face. Myself and a few other people admitted the jail time probably would have been worth it. I would have lost my job today. That's not... No. No. No one was happy about that. Luckily for the customer, this assistant manager was a really amazing person. She was really good at keeping her cool, and she said, "No, you know what? She's not worth it. I have plans for my life." Or, something along those lines. And she just pretty much let it go. She didn't even ask the cops to press charges. I would have, but I know that involves a lot of court dealings, and she probably just didn't want to deal with that drama. I personally still have the video that was recorded by the associate that was right behind. That associate had sent it to me, and I saved it to my computer, and it's still on my phone to this day because it's one of those stories where you still need to prove to yourself that it actually happened, because sometimes even you can't believe what you've lived through. And on that note, I think we're going to go ahead and call this one an episode for the day. Thanks again for listening, guys. Obviously, I try to keep everyone's identities safe so that they can be protected, so there's no backlash from any of these companies or anyone else for any reason whatsoever. So for everyone sending in their stories, I thank you. Whatever I call you on the show is all you will ever be known as. With that being said, I want to give a big shout out and a big thank you to Denise Esparza for the artwork. She's the one who did the little thumbnail that you see when I upload all of my episodes, and I do look forward to working with her for any changes in artwork that I decide to do later. If you're interested in seeing anything else and more artwork that she does, you can follow her on Nisi Art on Instagram. That's NEISSE_ART on Instagram. Also, big shout out and a thank you to Nivation. He's the one responsible for the music you hear at the beginning and the ending of the episodes. If you wish to follow him and see what else he provides musically, that is Nivation. Spotify is the only platform that he gave me to shout him out on, but I just wanted to make sure he got the credit for what he did for me. I really do appreciate everything you guys have done for me to help me get this show started and to keep it going. Thank you guys. I really honestly could not have done this without you. For everyone else, thank you again for all your stories. I hope that you guys are enjoying this. One last reminder, please do not forget to check me out pretty much anywhere you can find a podcast. That's where I'm trying to get to. Obviously, the biggest ones I'm going to be on are Patreon and Spotify, but check me out, see where you can find me. Patreon will be the biggest help for me. And as I'm pretty sure I've stated before, that will also help you guys later on. I'm hoping to be able to do live Q&As. I'm hoping to be able to do conversations, one-on-one chats, group chats. I don't care. Maybe like some of the other people I've listened to doing podcasts, we can even make trips out of this and just make it a community. I just want to have fun with this. So I hope you guys are enjoying it, and I hope you can help make the community I'm looking to make. Thanks again, guys. This is Alpha signing off. See you next episode.